podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
So the Welsh rugby community has once again decided that 3 rugby regions is the way forward. That's if you listen to certain parts of the media. That's not us, and we'll explain to you why we believe in 4 regions being the way forward. Plus, we'll discuss all the goings on in round 7, take a look ahead to European rugby this weekend, and if you hang around long enough, you will get the details of how you can win 2 tickets to Ospreys versus Scarlets on Not Boxing Day this year. Let's get on with it. Let's start the show. You're listening to RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RAP Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining you, been a while, gents. Joining me as normal, Harley and James. Good evening.
Good evening, welcome back.
Good evening.
It feels like I've been away ages.
It's good you have.
That's a good point. Yeah, it has been a while. So Jamie can't be with us this evening. He's going to have a week off and recover from the shock of the weekend. But he will be back with us at some point in the future. So let's just crack on with things as per normal. And we'll start with a news desk, which, I mean, there hasn't really been much news this week other than people in Wales trying to generate news when there isn't much going on. The only thing that I wanted to say is Brad Moore's no longer available for Wales. So if we got rid of Gatland, the obvious choice for me to bring in was Brad Moore, but he's gone back to the Crusaders, which just...
I don't think he was ever an option. I don't think you ever would have done it.
I don't think he'd have wanted to, but he would have been a really good option. He is a good coach, but he's off the table now anyway. So
he's probably a good culture media hype man. I wouldn't necessarily say him as a coach is a good record, but it's culture, the way he develops a culture and gets through players on the mental side.
I think he'd be good as an assistant coach. I don't think he maybe would like that. What is news? I don't know if you've got it in. Is Hawkins back to Wales is looking more and more likely now.
Yeah,
he's been left out of. He was left out of the extra squad on the weekend, and Rob Baxter said that there's no hard feelings or whatever. He's just not good enough to get into 23. As I pointed out before, he's not set the world alight there. But he's also not the silver bullet that the Welsh media are reporting him to be. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Love the kid. Come through our system. But I think he's looking Cardiff or Dragons bound.
You don't reckon he'll go home?
No. He burned too many. There was too many bridges burnt on either side. If what I've heard is true, then he left. This is all speculation, but the rumor is that he got impatient and accepted the first offer that came across the table. Because if you remember, there's a whole contract thing. We couldn't offer a contract at the time that was more than an academy deal, basically.
It was when all the stuff that WRU was going on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And then not probably a month or two later, we could have given him a deal, to my knowledge, that was substantial enough for his profile and sort of age range. He would have been bumped up a bit by being a Wales international, but it would not by much. So yeah, that's also that's all speculation. But if what I've heard is true, then no, he's not coming back. I think he'll go Cardiff or Dragons.
Well, we'll talk about Dragons later and the areas of need in their squad when we get on to what's happened last weekend. But before we do that, when we talk about speculation and basically media bollocks is a way of framing it. which now means that everyone that was listening in the BBC Wales studios has just turned the pod off. Everyone that was listening had gone, oh, I know what's coming next, right? Okay, we're just going to turn this off. Wales Online have gone, fuck this as well, and they've switched it off as well. So let's talk about the fact that the WRU keep saying we're going to stick with 4. All 4 regions have said we're going to stick with 4, but we've got a couple of idiots, or I'm not allowed to call them idiots, a couple of well-respected journalists and commentators who keep banging that door. One way or another, they want 3. And the bit that pisses me off is the system that developed them and gave them their international career was a 4-club system. Nothing much has changed. 4 clubs, professional, all playing in the same league, blah, 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 blah. But it's not going right at international level at the minute. And the solution to that is to get rid of a region, whichever region it may be. Yeah. And I know it's usually targeted either at Ospreys or Dragons. Yeah. But whichever way it comes out, it's wrong. So I just wanted to get your 2 thoughts and ideas before I let rip on it, as to why it keeps happening, why they keep saying it, and is it ever likely to happen in your opinions? Harley, you get first crack on this one, mate. Thoughts on dropping a region?
First of all, I just don't think it's good. I don't buy the lack of talent attitude. I reckon the talent's there. I just think the problem is that we've been failing everything under Team Wales and underfunding it for years. So when the money was there to keep these pathways to carry on, there's a lot. All the talk comes out from our respective parishes, Lee and Cardiff and Swat, and Scarlets. Basically when they were Cardiff and Ethley, they survived regionalisation, became these super clubs, and they sort of gives them a sort. I feel like with some of these people from those areas, that makes them think, well, we've proved that we could survive in that level. Let's go up to the next one. And I think it's not very fair. I mean, just because almost all the pressure gets put onto like some Ospreys and Dragons, and they have a poor performance, and immediately it's them merging, it's them being so sandwiched. I don't think it's very fair. I'm sure James will elaborate more on what it's like to be on that at the end of the stick to beat with. I mean, for me, I feel like as well, it's a bit of an easy thing to say, saying, "Oh, what's wrong with rugby? Oh, it's because we need to go down to 3, because they're not going to drop down to 3. So if problems happen, they can say, "See, it's because you didn't drop down to 3," and then if things get slightly better, say, "Yeah, but we could have gotten there much better faster if we were 3 teams." Then it's just sort of like it's a win-win situation for the people calling for it. Like I said, I don't buy it. I'm a bit fed up of this bollocks. Can we at least just carry on with the stick? Like, even within the WRU, we supposedly 2-3 years ago signed a super funding deal that players almost walked out on strikes to deal with, and we're still renegotiating it every year. And it's just getting tedious. It's just getting tedious with play. We're saying we want the regions to do better, but like one of the key hands tied behind your back is we don't know our budgets until everyone else has signed all the good players, or we've lost half of our brilliant young talent. So then you get to a point where you're like, well, I've only got 3 fit props, so I'm gonna have to sign whoever's available, even if it's Joe Blogs from Llandido under 3s. That's what we get stuck with.
He's a decent player as well. I've seen him a couple of times. So yeah, James, your thoughts on what Harley was just saying, and how much of this is media bollocks because there's nothing else to talk about?
I think it's a very raw and emotive thing for any Welsh fan, right? When you are not doing well, you look to blame, or you look to pass the blame onto certain things, right? And as I said to Dan the other week, I said it's really easy to sit there on Westgate Street and say these things. Like, from a Cardiff, this is not me painting Cardiff fans with the same brush, but it's really easy for Cardiff fans in particular And it's no coincidence that the ex-pros who are lobbying this come from either Cardiff or Scarlets. And it's really easy to sit there from Cardiff or from Clethley and say that we need to go down to 3, because realistically, Cardiff and Scarlets are not going to go at all. They're not going to cut a historic club like the Scarlets, who, like you said, have survived regionalisation. They're definitely not going to cut the club that sits next door to the National Stadium. So, from that point of view, it becomes then a 50-50, right? Who do you go? Do you go for the team that's historically the worst in terms of results, but own their own stadium, and they're the only team that outright own their own stadium, not through someone else or via this, via that, the council, whatever, they outright own it? Or do you go for the team historically the most successful, but have little to no assets? So,
but why'd you go for any of them? Why?
No,
it doesn't make sense for any of them to go.
No. I agree for you. I agree with you. But you've got to look at it from where the WIU are going to come from. They're not going to cut the Scarlets, right? We know this. They're not going to cut Cardiff, right? So there's only 2 other options. But as I say, when you're a fan of a team that for years now has been constantly linked with mergers or being chopped or doing all this various different things, right? You sort of become desensitized to it, and I sort of am at this point. I'm just sick of them essentially not saying it with their chest. If you want to cut a team, tell me who, right? If you want to cut a team, say, I want to cut Dragons, I want to cut Ospreys. I'd respect you more for that. Not Jonathan Davis going on Scrum 5 saying, yeah, I think we should go. The quality would be better. No, it wouldn't. How do you know? Yeah.
But see, they said this when we went from 5 down to 4. Yeah. For those of us that were unfortunate enough to be around when 5 went into 4, and it was like part of the reason for the 5th region going, the Warriors, part of the reason for that going was poor attendance, and the backers have gone, right, okay, we're not going to back them anymore, and they pulled the money out and put it elsewhere. And it was like, oh, it's okay, but it's not an issue because this is going to make us stronger now. This is going to make us better. We'll be more focused. We'll have, 25 professional players going into 4 other clubs. This is going to be the making of Welsh rugby, and all of that bollocks came out. And we'd get the same bollocks now if we drop from 4 to 3. We'd get the same thing. This is going to be, the give it 2 years and everything's going to be rosy and all of that kind of stuff. And the reality is that this is a story made up by people who have to produce stories, and that's all it is. There's no transfers to talk about. There's nothing really going on in clubs worth talking about, but they've got to produce a story. Every day they've got to produce X amount of clicks and X amount of stories, and they've got to get, numbers on the board, sort of a thing. And that's where it's coming from. It's a handy thing to go back, because they know they've stoked the fire, they've put the wood in the fire already, and they've gone, anytime you want to spark that up, you just go, let's cut a region, and they know the fire starts burning again. And it's wrong, like you say, James. It's dealing with people's emotions. It's dealing with people's commitment to a club. Ospreys are about to go and redevelop St Helens. That's a massive investment for a club to make. Massive investment. Cardiff have just got their massive amount of cash in, and they're allegedly going to redevelop the Arms Park at some point. Rodney Parade
after the Euros in 2026 is when. So there's not going to be anything. There's not going to be any material change until then. But it's basically just going to be paintwork until then.
Right? Are they fixing the?
Told.
Are they
was it
fixing
2028 the Euros? Whichever one it is.
Are they fixing the leaks in the roof in the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, they'll put some nice new buckets under it with pride written on there.
Absolutely. It's a step up. But I think the point here is if you want to talk about the problems in Welsh rugby, the problems in Welsh rugby aren't to do with 4 regions. The problems in rugby aren't solved by getting rid of one of those regions. You know, the problems in Welsh rugby are much deeper, much wider. It's societal, it's economic, it's political. It's all this stuff that nobody wants to talk about within a rugby pod, and we're not going to either, because my wife would absolutely rip my bollocks off if I started going down that one. But it's a bigger problem than just Welsh rugby. So getting rid of a region will just piss off a whole load of people and not really do any benefit.
What I will say is, right, the thing that was most telling to me, and it happened last year, when Ospreys were doing well, when, you know, we were flying the flag, right, for Welsh teams, people were still talking about how we need to be merged with the Scarlets. People were still talking about how we need to be cut and West Wales should entirely be played out of Parker Scarlets, right? And that's renamed to Parker West Wales or whatever, right? Because, you know, as Harley jokes all the time when we say Cardiff should merge, and Harley says as long as they play in black and blue and called Cardiff, right, or blue and black, whatever. That would be what the Ospreys were. If you saw the second bit of that Scrum 5 interview that Foxy did, he talked about the merger, and essentially a coaching team was drafted up already, and all this, and it was the Ospreys chairman who stopped it at the last minute because, you know, it aligns with the story of they went in there, were told that it's going to be a, you know, a 50-50 brand split, and essentially it turned into Scarlets absorbing the Ospreys. That's what it was going to be. And that's what you get every week. And in the current climate, right, where these voices like Shankly and like Foxy and Warburton and all these are so prominent, right? And people listen to them because they're the golden generation. They're, you know, Tom Shanklin, who brought us Grand Slams, a win on Lions tours, Foxy, Player of the Year, and all this, right? People listen to them. And when you're like that, you know, I every loss, right, as an Ospreys fan or a Dragons fan, it just feels like it's one step closer to not having a club to cheer for. And it might be a bit over dramatic, but until you're in, like I said, until you're in that shoe, right, until you're in that mindset, you know, you can't comprehend that, not having a club to support. And I empathise with Celtic Warriors, right, and we took their fans in, right. There's plenty of, you see it when you go down to Bridgend, there's Ospreys fans wearing Celtic Warriors tops. You know, we understand that. You know, it's such a. I work with people who were Irish fans, people who were Wasps fans. You don't know what that's like until you're staring it down, essentially. And when you're a rugby club in Wales, like Dragons or like Ospreys, you're constantly looking behind, so there's no way you can look forward. You're constantly looking behind and say, yeah, the WRU said they're going to commit to 4 regions, but that might change in 6 months' time. That might change and they trigger the 2-year thing. That, you know, it's such a. I'm an optimist, right? I'm probably the biggest optimist in the Ospreys fan base.
Fucking hell, James, come on, man.
But no,
this week he's not far off.
This week has seriously got me down as a fan. You know, the loss on Saturday, you know, in the context of what's been said this week, it's really tough. It is really, really tough to be a fan in this current climate.
So my suggestion is this then. When we set this pod up a couple of years ago, yeah, we were committed to 4 regions, and we've always been committed to 4 regions because, you know, people don't know us, and none of us were friends before, and most of us have never met. We've only, it's just the screen and all of that kind of stuff. But we talk on a daily basis, and we talk rugby, and we wind each other up, and sometimes we take it too far, and sometimes we put it back, and sometimes we throw the phone out the window and all of that kind of stuff. But it's because we care, and we care about the regions. As a Scarlets fan, I would never say that rugby would be better without the Ospreys around. Genuinely, hand on heart. Yeah, it's you need somebody to go up against. You need somebody that's your rival. Yeah, you need somebody to Like I can pretty much guarantee now, James, that Ospreys are sitting there going like, shit, we got the Scarlets in 2 weeks' time. How do we turn that around in what 21 days in it 20 days? Yeah. How do we get from where we are? Let's just focus on that one game, because it focuses your mind, and everything else goes out of the window. The form book goes out of the window for that 1 week, and that game is the most important game of the season. Yeah. Scarlets fans have been talking about it for 2 or 3 weeks already, just because we're on the up. Whereas last year, it was like, shit, how do we turn this round before the Ospreys game? We've got to turn something round before the Ospreys game. Yeah, you take that away, and you lose an edge to your club, your reason, your season. So as a pod, we've always been committed to 4, and we will always be committed to 4. But from now on, we're going to start banging. And up until now, we've kind of ignored all the stuff going on in the background. So I'm going to encourage all of our supporters now, and the people that listen to our pod, to celebrate the fact that we've got 4, and not be frightened to say, yeah, let's go and play with 4. Let's make 4 work. Let's find a way of making 4 work, because we've done it in the past. And making 3 work might be a little bit easier for a couple of people, but making 4 work will be a damn sight more productive for Wales and Welsh rugby and Welsh rugby players and Welsh rugby supporters. And you're a lot longer as a supporter than you are as a player, as we all know. The end of your career comes really, really quickly, and then you've got the rest of your life as a supporter. You need something to support. So when you see those reports in the social media, and you see somebody going, let's drop it to 3, let's drop it to 2. I've seen people say this week, let's drop it to 2. What a load of bollocks. When you see those comments, challenge them. Challenge them and go back and say, I don't agree with that. 4 is where we need to make 4 work. And that's what we're going to nail ourselves to for the however long we're around as a podcast. We're going to bang the door at 4 is right, and that's the number that we're going to go on. And this is probably why I don't come on the pod very often, and I have a couple of weeks off every now and again. It's been boiling me for a couple of weeks, and sitting there and knowing that I wasn't going to be on a pod for a couple of weeks, and then you see it, and then I see your guys' reaction to it, and I'm like, fuck it, we just need to put it out there and say, we're 4, we're committed to 4, and we're going to bang the door. We're going to bang the door, and every time somebody says, let's drop it to 3, we're going to go back and say, no, let's stick it to 4. Better than that, let's stick a region up north and make it 5 again, and let's see them counterplay that one. That'll be fun. Has anybody else got anything more to add on that, gents, before I move on? Are we suitably vented of our anger on that one?
There's also Shanklin's comments saying we should just fully fund 1 and have 2 normal and then 1 have fuck all money. Yeah. Again, I'd respect him more, because he says quite rightly in his comments that Welsh rugby needs derbies, right? So you can't have 3, because you get rid of what? Say if you got rid of Ospreys, right? Ospreys Cardiff is quite spicy. Ospreys Scarlets is very spicy, right? That's getting rid of 2 staple derbies there. So, but his proposal is you fully fund 1, and then basically give the Irish mod. Essentially, you have a Leinster, you have and then you have the other 3. If you keep up with the Irish game, you'll know that everyone's scrambling around to find some like props, or while they're signing RG Stamen and Geordie Barrett. That's essentially what Shanklin says, because you want to be competitive and tricky. It's essentially trickle down economics, but for rugby clubs. Yeah. But again, why doesn't Shanklin just turn around and say what club he wants to be fully funded? That again, people would respect you more if you just said, "Look, I want Cardiff to be fully funded. They're a capital city club. Let's fully fund them, give them the best academy players, blah blah blah, and then we'll go from there." At least his method keeps 4.
Yeah, but it's all, he knows it's not going to happen. He knows it's not going to work, and it's just about generating clicks for a failing media career.
All right.
You know,
I don't think his media career is failing. You can say a lot of things about Shankly. He never played for the Lions, but his media career ain't failing.
yeah. He's just, but he's permanently on mute in my house. So whenever he's on, and then I forget, and like somebody will score, and I'll go back and I'll unmute it, and then he'll start talking, and I'll go, oh yeah, that's where I muted it, and then I'll mute it again. So Harley, have you got anything on the 1+3 idea?
I mean, we've talked about all these different things and 2+2. The point is you're never going to get an agreement on who it should be.
No,
you never get, like, the Scarlets fans all say it should be the Scarlets being the super club. Cardiff will say it's Cardiff. Dragons and Ospreys equally will say themselves. James will see a loss to the Zebra and say just fold Welsh Rugby entirely, like he did in the group chat.
Yeah.
It's just never got. I mean, we did have sort of like tiered funding for a while anyway. So there was a point when Scarlets were ahead, had the most money, and then you had Ospreys and Cardiff, and then Dragons basically were on not much more than they're on now.
But at one point, we had 3 international fullbacks, and we never saw any of them. We were playing wingers on the fullback because
this is where
why
they had the difference in funding. The funding was directly tied to the number of Wales internationals you had. Even though that I say funding, it's payments, and it's payments. But the money is from the WRU is to pay for player release and academy development. But the problem it was never quite enough to cover losing your players for that long. So you didn't have as much money to put into the academy development as you needed, because you also needed to have a squad to be competitive, and it kind of cocked up from there. Now, in theory, it's a bit more fair. Well, now I'd argue it's less fair because we've all been given the same 4.5 million, but Ospreys lose X number of players. Dragons lose X number. Cardiff and Scarlets, rightly or wrongly, have a few more players, and you're like, well, now they're looking. Cardiff couldn't do a training match during that month break because we had one fit hooker. We'd have been pulling up it was either an academy lad or pulling it from the right. So it was just like, well, this doesn't work.
You should have had a chat with Glasgow, mate. They put 3 hookers on the pitch on Friday night. They got loads of them, apparently.
When we get to reviews, I'm keeping that powder dry because it's fucking. Oh, yeah. I have an opinion on that.
Okay, well, let's move on to reviews then. So just quickly before I do, if you're liking what you're hearing, I doubt you're liking what you're seeing. I've seen my face. I've seen Harley's face. If you're kind of liking what you're hearing and watching on YouTube, then do give us a like and a subscribe, because it really makes a difference to what we do. Or share us. Share us on the social media. That'll be really good. Share us and tag some of the people that we've just criticized, just to really boil their piss. That will be really funny. So and I know there's 3 or 4 people that will do that already. So yes, let's move on to the review of round 7 then. So Friday night, Scarlets travelled up to Glasgow. It was a weakened Glasgow side, but it was actually a really strong Scarlet side as well. But Glasgow got a squad where they can put out a second string, and you wouldn't really know that it was a second string because it's just stacked with internationals. I know we'll talk about those last 10 minutes in a minute and what have you. But for me, those last 10 minutes were about learning stuff. The previous 70 minutes, when you look at those previous 70 minutes and you compare them to where we were last season, we played Glasgow last season, and it was genuinely, can we hold them to 40 odd? If we can hold them to 40 odd, if it's rainy and it's wet, and then halfway through the game there's a sandstorm and then there's a blizzard and nobody can see the pitch, maybe we might hold them to 40. And this time, we were in the lead up until 60 minutes, and rightly so, justifiably so. And when we look at the player of the week later, you'll see that we probably should have been further ahead. So it was a hard one to take. It really was a hard one to take. And then you look at it and go, actually, we can be proud of that performance. I genuinely think we'd be proud of that performance. And there are people, you know what social media is like, with people just looking for an excuse to slag you off. We were quite positive about it on the Saucepans pod, but you know, we very nearly turned over the league champions in the back garden, and probably should have. You know, if we'd played those last 10 minutes a bit better, we probably would have. So yeah, I think we'll learn a lot from that. I think we gave Glasgow a bit of a nasty shock, but I think when you look at that as part of a development going forward, I think we'll probably learn more by not winning that game than we would have by winning it. I think the lessons that you learn through this week will be really, really hard, about taking 3 points, about controlling the last 5 minutes, about setting. Let's go through a drill of how to set up a drop goal when we're on the opposition's 22. Let's do things like that. When we're going to pass the ball to somebody, let's have a little chat before and say, are you ready to receive the ball? Would you like the ball? I'll pass you the ball and you go and run. Little bits like that. But they will have learned a lot from that game. Still a really young squad, will have learned a hell of a lot from that game that will go forward, and I think will stand us in good stead, probably at the end of this season and definitely going into next season on that one. So go on in, Harley. You get to talk about 3 hookers.
Before we go on to the fourth, you can group the starting one. And the starting one still did nearly 70 minutes.
I was struggling. I just want to talk about
that. The thing I found really weird about that drop, that absolutely atrocious drop, because it just kind of reminded me of the All Blacks from like just over a decade ago, I think, in that World Cup, and they just couldn't, for love nor money, work out how to do a drop goal, because it's something that never occurred to them that they might have to take the 3 in the last in the dying minutes of a game. And I feel like there's something so Welsh rugby about that. Come from a team who just don't seem to go for points at all anyway.
Well, to be
bench,
fair,
like the sheer, that's the thing, but I just want to go my just get my point out of the way on the Glasgow bench. Yeah. The sheer bollocks, like the proper like massive cojones on the Glasgow coach to just go, yeah, I'm sticking with I do 6-2 splits. I don't care if I've got no forwards. I'm sticking all the hookers in if I have to. I refuse that, and it nearly backfired because he lost both because he lost 2 backs quite early on as well. And you're like,
yeah.
And he could have moaned about that and said, "Oh, well, it always." Oh no, he just owned his decision. It's weird when coaches do that. They make a tactical decision and they own it, even if it nearly backfires. Luckily for them, it didn't. But it's just like 3. Why? And then you still make your starting hooker do the full game, and you're like nearly the full game. You're like,
but one of those hookers was like 6'1", 6'2", something like that, and I think he slotted in the second row at one point, and he was on the. They were like, at one point there were 2 flankers who were both hookers, and then you're like, okay, yeah, we got this. But actually, if they were flankers, they were pretty bloody good flankers.
I mean, to be fair, Scotland very much like us. You get a lot of converted flankers, at hooker. Just even playing for Scotland, Dylan Richardson started off as an open side flanker, and he's been sort of converted into a hooker. Sharks plays well. So I do wonder if some of that's because certainly in some leagues, when you're in the youth, you may come through a bit as a hooker, but like for your first year of senior rugby, you can't. They sort of make you go in the back row for a bit. I think you can't. I think some of you can't scrum the whole thing. So I wonder if they're just learning the skills there.
Some of us made a career of playing in the back row, my friend. Some of us actually were built to play nowhere else. Some of us were tried at centre and at fullback and at outside half, and a couple of games at scrum half. I even played prop once, and everyone agreed I was a back row player. So we don't just slot people into the back row, my friend. As you know yourself, it's a very skilled. It's where the handsome people play. You know that.
I mean, we're not examples of that, but Charles Oliphant, yes.
So the bit I was going to say earlier when you were talking about Johan Lloyd was he cramped up. He was cramping up quite a bit before. This was the bit where Dwayne Peel kind of goes, shit, I missed a trick on that. He at 65, 70 minutes, he should have brought Titcombe on, because you can't bring Titcombe on at 78 minutes and go take a kick. Go take a kick from the 10-yard line and slot it to win the game. There's a love off your tootle. So yeah, he probably needed to be on before that, going for the corner instead of the kick. I mean, if you watch the game, you see Dwayne Peel's reaction after it, and as a coach, you do, but then 99% of coaches have been in that position as a player. Dwayne Peel, when he was on the pitch, he'd have gone for the corner. It's hindsight and experience that tells you now's the time to stop and just put yourself back in the lead. So I totally get why they went for the corner. I totally understand that. With the tails were up, everything was positive. You get yourself together in a little group when you go, if we go for a line for the corner here, can we drive this over? Yes, we can. Yeah, we've got this. Come on, let's go. Nobody turns around and goes, do you know what? I think they might nick this one. So I totally get why they went for the corner. Was it the wrong decision in hindsight? Yeah, obviously it was, but it's what you live with. Like I said, they've learned from the experience.
I mean, I spent a whole season last season in a twos team where it was like, at the start, I was like, right, we've been really struggling to score in the first half, right? Any points on offer, take the points. And we're still kicking to the corner with our one line out jump option, who everyone in the league knew was our one line out jumper. And you're just like,
well, I remember playing. I interviewed one of my old teammates who's now a first team coach last season. And me and him were absolute nightmares for tap and goes. Just anywhere on our confidence was like way ahead of our ability. And I remember we played in a cup semi-final or something, and we were drawing. We were literally drawing. We were inside their 22, right in front of the posts. Penalty. And we had a decent kicker, so okay, this is it. We're in the final. Yeah, back. He puts his hand on the ball, taps it, off he goes, and he passes to me. And as he's passing to me, and I'm on like the 5-yard, and I'm thinking, oh, don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. And as it happened, we did go over and score. But that's what confidence does to you. Confidence says, I've got a really easy kick here. I can take an easy kick. But, you go for it. And it wouldn't have taken much for me to knock that ball on or whatever, and nobody would have spoken to me for a week. But let's say, I think the boys from Saturday will have had a conversation with Dwayne Peel that goes, when you're in that situation, boys, somebody's got to put the ball between the posts, because damn, it was a lost game. It was a lost game that we probably should have won. There were more than one opportunity there to win that game, and we didn't take them. So we've only got ourselves to blame. There was nothing there that we could say, the ref wasn't against us. I thought the ref had quite a good game. It wasn't conditions. It wasn't anything other than we should have put that game away, and we didn't. So have you anything to add on it, James? I mean,
I just thought it was a really poor 5 minutes from the Scarlets, really. That last bit, I thought that not even the setup for the drop goal, just the way they went about the phase play, I thought was poor. I thought, and it's not to rag on them because they did have a good game. I haven't watched the game back. I've only watched like 10 minutes, but look at the stats and the highlights. Scarlets played well in the context of the game and where they are. But you'd hope from a senior figure like Gareth Davies is able to orchestrate phase play better than that to help Johan Lloyd set for the drop goal. Yeah, like you said, Scarlets will learn from it. They will be a better team for it. But yeah, I thought if you look at it from a technical point of view, there's so much wrong there. And yeah, that it was no surprise he got charged down.
I mean, it should have. It should. I was saying it to Hugh on Friday night. I said you probably did about 6 too many phases, and all right, part of that must be because Joan wasn't feeling comfortable with his cramp.
Yeah,
Again, going back to Peel's lack of bench use, which I'm sure, as the Saucepans guys are, I'm assuming we're recording as we are.
Yeah,
are going to say the same because it's been a theme for the last 2 seasons for them.
Yeah, and it got to, let's say, it got to 60, 65 minutes, and we start unloading the bench, and you could see, obviously, we're short of scrum halves. That's why Cowrill's playing every minute of every game, until Archie's back, which will hopefully be in the new year if all goes well, I believe. But, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to take somebody off and to throw, like I said, throw somebody on and say, we've got a kick. I need you to take that. You're going on cold to take that kick and put it over. That would be the wrong decision. It needed to be made at 65, 70 minutes. Right, okay.
When Lloyd started cramping up.
When he started cramping, yeah.
Because he was, this was a theme for like the last 20 minutes or so. You could see he was constantly going down and getting stuff done.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, on the whole, given where we were last year, I would take that performance every single fucking day of the week. So, yeah.
Only Munster have beaten Glasgow at home in the ORC.
Yeah, and they're a bunch of fannies. Caelan says it all the time. So let's move on to Cardiff and Dragons on Saturday afternoon. So obviously Jamie isn't with us, but he has already recorded Dragons Lair this week, where you will hear Gav talk about chip shops and JCB diggers and all sorts of strange things.
Oh, how have I not listened to this yet? That's right in my wheelhouse.
So yeah, for Dragon supporters listening, we will try and do justice to that. We will probably be a bit more positive than Jamie is, because Jamie's in the same place as yourself, James, where it's hard to keep dragging yourself up and keep smiling sometimes. So Harley, what did you make of Cardiff and Dragons on Saturday?
Well, me and Jamie could even keep whatever the opposite of bigging up is, smalling down. This is the worst of the four derbies, and that game did not change my opinion on that at all. It was not vintage from either side, but actually, when weirdly, if you look at the stats overall, you say it was probably quite an even game. So tackle success is about the same. The amount of meters per carry is same. Possession territory are about thereabouts. Dragons played slightly more in their own sort of half to the 22, and we played slightly more in their half to 20. I mean, the big ones are we scored more, but when we did get chances, we were more clinical than Dragons. But it was weird that it came in sort of patches. So you had that really dominant sort of 15, 20 minutes from Dragons, where Cardiff just could not get hold of the ball. They were trying everything mostly illegally. But Dragons didn't really capitalise. Then we had a nice big purple patch in that middle 40, and then Dragons came on strong when they bench, which actually is one thing. I don't know if the Dragons boys put on. I think their bench actually had a really big impact, particularly Morgan Lloyd, the scrum half. I thought he just caught Cardiff napping and was just particularly nicking that try, which I still think is probably one of the moments of the week for the Welsh regions. But we'll get onto that later. It was just good. From a Cardiff perspective, sort of Pack did a good enough job, wasn't necessarily dominant. I just want to say it was great seeing Josh Adams back. Probably not quite to his best, but still, he made 55 meters. That line he runs for the Callum Sheedy try. It just sort of just the perfect dark line. And then as soon as he knows, he's not going to make it, straightens up, gives the pass, and we go over, which some of that, all the Welsh sides really been pretty guilty of that player dying with the ball. Harry Millard as well, he was beating Dragons defenders for fun. It was, quite nice, because that was probably one of the few moments of competence from us in that first half. So overall, what can you say? It's Cardiff Dragons. It's 19 on the spin now in the league. We're getting close to a full decade without losing to Dragons. I don't want to dwell on it too much, to be honest.
Well, I said to you on Saturday, because I had to nip out at half time. So I saw the first half, and I thought Dragons had a really good first half. I think they came in, like, you had the try just before the half time, or it was in extra time, wasn't it? Because it was 43 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, at the end of that first half, I thought Dragons were actually morally on top. The scoreboard may not have reflected it, but they played the better rugby in that first half. And then I've seen the highlights of the second half, and it is like they just went to sleep. It's like Cardiff were asleep in the first half. Maybe it's something down that end of the pitch. Maybe there's something coming out of the clubhouse that's wafting across the pitch and puts everyone to sleep or whatever. But they really just didn't seem to switch on in the second half. But you're right, they had chances in the first half to capitalise, and they just didn't. And that was the difference between them. But it's hard when you're down in the dumps. So James, let's bring you in, mate, and get another kind of Dragons-esque kind of opinion. If you were a Dragon supporter, how would you be feeling about that game?
Annoyed, upset, frustrated. Angus O'Brien misses 6 relatively easy points on the tee that would have gotten a losing bonus point at minimum.
Not mine. You never know that. I mean, it could take them on more.
Yeah, but I'm just talking in the context of the final result. I thought, they weren't clinical at all. If I go on the negatives first for Dragons, I think I like Lloyd Evans a lot, but I don't know if he's the answer at 10. Is that centre partnership currently the best one? Do they maybe look at Harry Wilson at 13 instead? I think Rio Dyer, as good a player as he is, in some stinking form at the minute, and it's not his fault. I think it's just where he's at. Positives. I think Tame Basham has been really, really good. I think he's on form the best carrying back rower in Wales at the minute. Morgan Lloyd, I really like him. Been tearing up Pontypool. I know Iestyn from Irie and Welsh Pod sings his praises a lot. He is one of the players I understand who's been identified as one of the 60. And rightly so. I think he's class talent. He sold Azerati down the river. But yeah, I think he's making a serious case for that number 2 spot behind Rodri.
Depends on beaten as well, which is joint second with Tame, but only behind Harry Millard with 7. So I mean, and he was only on the pitch 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
So that's, I say, because this is the same game you said about the whole thing of the drop off on the bench, particularly when Rodri goes off. And finally they've got something, if anything, is raising the game, which is what you want.
It remains to be seen whether he does it consistently, right? Let's not build him up before he. We've done how many times?
I'm saying it's a hope. But not the Shaves variety.
Look, I come back to Sam Cross, right? I love Sam Cross. He had one go game against Saracens. The next thing you know, he's starting against the All Blacks. Right. I love Sam.
I'm not saying Morgan. I'm not saying Morgan Lloyd for Wales just yet. I'm just saying it happens. It might solve an issue.
This is how it begins.
Stranger things have happened in the past.
This is how it begins.
I'm not calling for Harry Millard for Wales or Sherritt for Wales, unlike someone has been saying in the group chat, James.
I think while it's a disappointing result, I think Filo Tiatia will be relatively happy in the sense that where they were this fixture last year, it's like the Italy All Blacks thing. They took however many in one game, and then a year later it's however many points. So I think there's signs there, but like I said, go listen to, I think Jamie echoes what I think about the Dragons. Go listen to Dragons Lair. They say it better than me.
So the bit I was going to say when we were talking earlier about Hawkins coming home, Where do you think Dragons actually need support? Then I think it's at 10. I think they've got the makings of a really good pack. You can see that pack building. Like you said, the back row is about the best back row in Wales at the minute. You've got some really strong wingers. I really like the look of Rosser, but
Both of them.
yeah, yeah, but then you've got 10, and I think that's the one area that if they're going to invest in someone and bring in a big name who can control the game and control the tempo, and somebody that wants a challenge, then go and find a really experienced 10, and I think it will click. So if Hawkins comes back, does he come back to Dragons? I don't think that's what they need. I think that the money would be better off spent elsewhere. Was going to be my point earlier, and now. So would you agree with that, or would you say they've got other issues elsewhere that they need to look
I
at?
think Wales or Warren Gatland clearly views Hawkins as a 10, and you don't want him coming to the Dragons or to come to Cardiff and having a Ben Thomas situation where you have this argument, oh, is he a 10, is he a 12? Personally, I think he's a 12 who can play 10 if need be.
Yeah, I think the same as with the Ben Thomas
Yeah.
thing. He's definitely one over the other.
But if
Here's
you're
emergency.
Dragons or Cardiff and you sign him as a 10 and you turn around halfway the season like, hang on a minute, this isn't what we signed, this isn't a 10, then you've only got yourself to blame. I don't think Hawkins is a silver bullet people are making out.
And I don't think he's a 10, and
Yeah.
that's what Dragons need.
Well, one thing that I said that annoyed, just to go on the whole Lloyd Evans thing, to me, it just feels like watching how Dragons play, particularly when they have Lloyd Evans, Angus O'Brien is, you're basically waiting for Angus O'Brien to come into the line to do the 10 role. He does the line kicking, does the goal kicking, right? I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Ben Thomas takes restart, and there's a lot of the restarts and for Cardiff, but at least there, Chidi or De Beer plays the 10 role. They tend to be good. I know they sort of share it, but it's almost like Dragons use Lloyd Evans to ship the ball onto Angus O'Brien, who then makes a play. It's not like he's coming in at first receiver or dictate. It almost feels like when they're trying to attack, particularly when they go out wide, it just almost takes a bit too long for anything to happen. And then you got that nippy 9 when Roger, when it takes the scrum half to basically do something to get something quick and fast, and it's just a bit.
Okay. I'm going to round up this one with a real curveball and say Jordan Williams for 10. Moving on, let's go to Zebra and Ospreys.
Oh, you can't leave a golden opportunity to remind everyone of the unretirement of Nicky Robinson.
Many times. So, James, as hard as this is, yeah, and trust me, I was kind of there. Like Scarlets didn't lose to Zebra last year, but probably should have. Yeah.
Cardiff.
Well, yeah, you should have
Cardiff
lost.
Definitely should have.
First game of the season this year.
No, we shouldn't have.
Yes, you should.
No.
They had 4 clear opportunities, Harley, that they should have put away.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have taken our foot off of the gas.
Hindsight, my friend. Yes. James, talk to me about Zebra and Ospreys and emotions and feelings and what have you, mate.
Something's not right at the Ospreys at the minute. Something just doesn't feel right. We look sluggish. We look a shell of what we were last year. Everything that we was great about us last year was the at best parity, or at worst, parity up front. You have a pack that can stay in games. You win collisions. You do all these things. You're scrum dominant, or you eke scrum penalties out. You've got a strong driving line out. You've got forward to a deadly around the pick and go, and then you can score tries out wide, but you've got a solid back three and centre partners, whatever. It just doesn't look that way this year. Everything that was good about us last year. Last year I think we were the top for how efficient we were. So every time we went into 22, essentially, we were coming out with points, whether it was 3, 5, or 7. That it was a given, right? We even if we stayed there for 10 minutes, we were coming out with something. This year, we are not that at all. There is, the hangover of the question: is it Toby Booth? Is it him leaving? And I still rubbish that argument. I still don't think I think that's a cop out of an excuse. And what we do have is a massive unavailability list. So for reference, Ospreys have used 41 players already this season, and we're round 6?
7.
7.
Around 7. Yeah.
We've used 41 players. And you probably think, oh, that's just squad rotation. 11 of them have played less than 100 minutes.
Mm.
So, for context, we used 50 or 51 by the end of last season. So we're already at 41, and we are in the start of December. Our unavailability. And everyone says, oh, Toby Booth chooses to rest his players. No, he doesn't. He can't play certain players all the time, right? They have to be rested. There are player union contracts that state X amount of minutes has to be played, and then there's enforced rest.
How was Coldo getting away with it there at Scarlets? Because he's played every minute of every game so far.
He's not international.
So is it only international players that are regulated on that?
So at some point...
Well, I mean, your international minutes count as well, so that's...
Yeah, at some point, Ben Thomas is going to have enforced rest at Cardiff, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's why you saw Rory Jennings on the bench last week. He was always going to come down, and I imagine we'll see him rested for 1 or 2. Almost definitely the Cheetahs game in Europe, and probably another.
So when you have,
I think the idea was to win the URC.
So when you have a snarky Toby Booth comments from other people saying that he's woe is me and all that, no, hands are tied. We had what 3? Tristan, Harry, and Fender all coming off long-term injury, and it looked it. Not that they played bad. You've got 3 coming off long-term injury. Whatever he's doing, it's not working. Like, Owen Williams didn't have a bad game, but it's clear to see how important Dan Edwards is to us. They're still not entirely convinced by Hardy. I still think it's a good signing. I think Steph Thomas looks sluggish. I think he still needs more. So yeah, I think whatever it is Ospreys need to find, they need to find it quickly. Because this is now our worst start since 2019. We're at the bottom for attack. We're at the bottom for pretty much everything. And this was go on. No, go on.
No, so the bit I don't understand, yeah, and I've looked at a couple of games and I look at a couple of bits in slow motion and try and work out what's going on. Right, last year your driving line out produced about 50% of your tries. I think it was something like that. It's a ridiculously efficient way of penalty in the middle of the pitch, kick it to the corner, driving line out, try. And if it didn't come directly off the line out, it came off the second or third phase off the driving line. And then there were 3 occasions against Zebra where you're in exactly that position. Penalty in the middle of the pitch, kick to the corner, driving line out, and Zebra are competing and pushing you back. I think one of them did end up as a try. You went across the pitch like 3 or 4 times and it took you like 20 odd phases to score. Whereas last season it was 3, and then the other 2 got turned over. How does it go that wrong that quickly? Do you know what I mean? When you look at that as a supporter, you go, that's where we won games last season. You don't forget what you were doing. So what's gone wrong in that like little specific area that won you games last season?
Ironically, the maul hasn't been as bad as people are making out. I think before the Edinburgh game, and maybe even after, we had the most maul meters. We just weren't scoring tries from it. So we were making loads and loads of meters from mauls. We just weren't scoring. And I think that comes down to teams just get really good at holding you up, or you just lose momentum at the last second. Again, look, I don't know what the answer is. What I do know is that you don't become a bad team overnight. I think that Ospreys will be better this week. I think there are players to come back in that will make that side better. I do think we have a purple patch in us somewhere. We do generally do well over Christmas.
Yeah.
Um,
When it's nice and wet and boggy.
If you could hold off until New Year's Day
yeah.
before,
No.
no.
What you want to do is peak on Boxing Day and then crash rapidly on New Year's Day. I wonder who are the two opponents.
We've already done We've already done the crashing. Don't worry.
Yeah, but it's because as you said, it's just not like the Ospreys. So I mean, going through stats, 1.5 points per entry, just it's not as efficient. 42% of your possession was in Zebra 22, 70% in the Zebra half. It's just because 75%. It's just not. And it's not. I know Q's posting out this week. He's going to be posting out a video on the Rap channel about the Ospreys attack and how.
I can't wait for that. I'm glad we're getting a positive analysis video.
Well, it was done a while ago, mate, but he pulled it. It didn't.
Jeez, kick us while we're down. Why don't you?
But but one of the points he was making is Dewi Lake's probably one of the best forward carriers in. I know it wouldn't have made this point's not necessarily relevant for this game, but he doesn't seem to be carrying that much for the Ospreys at the moment. He's been
considering he didn't play on the weekend. He didn't carry it.
I know he wasn't playing. I know, but I mean, in general, when he is playing, that's more.
I think the way
are the best players doing what they're best at.
When Ospreys are at our best players do. So when Ospreys are at our best, you've got Morgan Morris, who carries a lot. He'll carry off first phase. And what you'll often get with someone like Dewi is he comes around the corner on second phase a lot. So you'll see him move around. I think the best example I can think of this is Alex Cuthbert's second try against Montpellier at home. So we go off the top of a line-out from middle back. We hit Joe Hawkins up the middle. And then Dewi Lake's run from throwing the ball around and he hits a lovely line off second phase, right? That gives you gain line, allows the Owen Williams to conduct a move and we score. That's where you see Dewi Lake probably at his best. I think if you see him carrying around the tight, I don't think he's as effective. I think he needs a real head of steam to properly get there. When what we are doing, which is very not like Ospreys, we're getting the ball to the wings a lot. So we're giving Keelan Giles and Dan Casende, who are very, very dangerous, the ball. We're just not giving them the platform to go out and succeed. What you need to be doing is putting Keelan Giles in consistent one-on-one situations. So you need to even if he gets tackled 5 out of 6 times, that 6th time, he is going to get the better of his defender, because if you're constantly going up in 1v1, you will get tired. What we have done is just gone away from what we're good at. And I think what you're seeing is a painful transition for some players who are maybe accelerated their learning progress. I think we wouldn't have seen much of Will Greatbanks this year had it not been for injuries. We've had shit luck in the second row department for about 2 years running now. Now we've lost Adam Beard till mid-February. Rhys Davies is on his way back. Fender's is back, but still coming back from injury. So yeah, I think when Ospreys are at their best, their players are doing the right jobs. I just think at the minute, it all just doesn't look right. It all just doesn't feel right. And as an invested fan, all you want is it to look right. And I think the other side of it as well is the breakdown. We got outmuscled at the breakdown a lot. Zebra really targeted it, and we didn't react. I do think that they at least should have had a card at one point. The referee consistently told them to change behaviour and they weren't. He gave them 3 final warnings. I'm not complaining about the referee. I thought the refereeing was on the whole okay. I think what you just want is consistently. If you're gonna, how many warnings is a final warning? for change behaviour. So look, bad day at the office. Never wanted a game to end so much in my life.
I'm not going to lie, I felt the same watching it.
Right, let's so Harley, you do prediction league stuff, and I'm gonna see if I can get some fancy stuff to work while you're doing that. And I have a strong suspicion that I won't be able to. But just let us know where we are on prediction leagues first, mate.
Right, so for our sort of the four of us, I don't want to talk about it because I'm joint third with James. So Lee sent me his predictions, and I said, so same as when Dan covered for me on the pod, I basically said whichever one of us two has the better, I'll put those ones through. So Lee's predictions actually were very good, and he got the closest on 2 out of 3 games because he stupidly picked the Dragons, and otherwise it would have been 3 out of 3.
I picked all 4 of the wrong sides, and I was still the closest to the actual score. Bizarre, man.
It's because everyone else, us 3 all thought that Scarlets are going to get tonked by Scarlets by Glasgow, and we were expecting Ospreys to beat Zebra. And you were the least convinced by Ospreys beating Zebras. So that's what it was. Anyway, so as we stand going in, Jamie's in the lead with 63 league points, Lee on 57, and then me and James are tied on 54. The tiebreaker for this is point variance. So on the variance, Jamie is only 160 points out on his predictions. Lee, you're 266 points out of your variance. So when you get it right, you're fine. But when you get it wrong, it's hella wrong. James, you've got 258 points off, and I've got 238. So to be fair, Jamie is clearly hedging his bets, which is why he's getting all these points right.
We all have more confidence in the Dragons than Jamie. That's the issue. Well, we keep saying this is the Dragons week, and Jamie just goes, no, it's not, boys, and that's why he's closer than the rest of us. And I bet if we analysed it, we've all predicted Dragons wins. I know I have a load of times, and I don't think Jamie's predicted a Dragons win on all season. Might be wrong, but it's quite close.
I think maybe the Ospreys game. That's about it. If you want to know about the rap listeners pool, although there's only 23 of us, I'm currently 11th. I need to scroll all the way down to 14th for Lee. I don't think Jamie or James are on there. And in the lead is Dobbin, who is a Cardiff fan. So, at least Cardiff are winning something at the moment. Although 4th in the table, I'll take that because I predicted by the end of the festive derbies would be 3rd. So, as long as their Dragons and Ospreys play their part, that prediction might come true.
We'll save that one till after European fixtures, mate. Right, I'm going to try and do a quick screen share here. This may end up getting cut, guys. So, okay, so minor glitches resolved. So player of the week. So I'm trying to go all fancy here, boys. So we'll talk about your players of the week in a second. So first up, we've got Dragons, and then Cardiff, and then Ospreys, and then Scarlets, and it goes a little bit like this. So yeah, that's our players of the week there. So we had so the reason I shared that on the Scarlets one was we were 8-0 up at that point. That pass goes to hand, and it's 99% in for a try there, and that's game over. So you see with the Cardiff one with no, it wasn't Harry Millard. 40, depending on which way you look at 43 minutes, you will see a very different set of tries. But Sheedy's try on 43 minutes was absolute class from the build and play. And Osprey's try again with Cassende in the corner just shows that they can build. It can be done. So those will be on our social medias from Tuesday onwards. Do feel free to like and love them as you see fit. Also on our social media from Tuesday onwards will be our very first competition. together with the Ospreys. The Ospreys have very kindly offered us 2 sets of tickets for the Ospreys and Scarlets game on Not Boxing Day. That's officially what it's
21st.
called. Yeah, it's Not Boxing Day.
Not Boxing Day.
Not Boxing Day. But yeah, they very kindly offered us 2 sets or 2 tickets. So there's a small form to fill in, which is just name, address, and phone number and what have you. Send it in. They'll pick up 2 sets of 2 tickets. And it would be great if whoever wins those tickets could let us know and come on the pod and didn't talk about the game and all of that kind of stuff. Which is a handy time to drop in about also doing vlogs, which that'll be out on a video later this week as well. I think we've got someone sorted for Cardiff. We've got someone sorted for Scarlets. We did have somebody that wanted to do it for Dragons, but they couldn't actually work it the way we wanted to. So if you want to do match day vlogs, drop us a line because, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be cool. Okay, let's do a very quick prediction for not round 8. We kick off with European rugby this week. Does anyone care? Genuinely,
Yes.
do we care? You do. Okay, you can go first then.
Yeah, challenge, because Challenge Cup is, the Champions Cup is all about who's got the biggest budget. Let's be honest, mate. If you're a Diddy team, there's no point worrying about that. What you want to care about is the Challenge Cup. It's all fairly much more evenly matched. Get some maps that you. I can't keep up the charade. I don't care. I just want. I mean, I'll be honest with both European competitions. To be honest, unless you get through to the knockouts, the pool stages don't really matter. Like, you finish in the top 4 of your pool, you get to play some, or top 5 in the Champions Cup, you get to play some more rugby. For me, I think this is probably the time that Cardiff probably try where they can to rotate their squad. I mean, let's be clear, we've got 2 French teams which are away again because, of course, it is. Then we've got Connacht, which is one of my favourite URC clashes, but my favourite URC clash is not. I don't want that for Europe. But the whole point of Europe is to play teams you don't normally play, and we've got the Cheetahs and Connacht at home as well. Seen that plenty of times.
So, James, bottom of the table kind of scenario. Are you thinking save players for the league and try and go up the league, or are you thinking this could be the opportunity to turn it around?
No, we always go hard in the Challenge Cup. I don't expect us to do anything different. If you remember last year, we took the 2s out to Benetton and then played Benetton the week after with the 1s and smashed them. I fully expect us to go full noise this week. Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake, Jack Morgan, Dan Edwards, if he's available. Just quite annoying that we're playing the Lions again in Europe. We played them last year, obviously, and beat them. We also played Montpellier last year and the year before, and playing them again this year. Newcastle will be fun, but we've played them in the Challenge Cup multiple times. So I don't mind the competition at all. I'm just sick of playing the same teams. We've got the Wales, Uruguay, Fiji, Australia gambit at the Ospreys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do think if the squad stays healthy and we can find a bit of form, I do think we can do what we did last year and hopefully go that one step further.
You made the semis last year, didn't you?
Quarters.
Okay.
Yeah. Still yet to win a European quarter-final.
Yeah, but the thing was we hadn't won a European knockout game, not a quarter-final. Yeah. So we won a knockout game. We just haven't won a quarter-final.
Okay, so you're the Welsh island.
Yeah. And you haven't won a URC, so we've won 4.
Have you won a URC?
Won 4.
You've won no URCs.
Sorry.
3.
We've won the Magnus League. We've won the Rabo Direct. You've won Sweet FA.
We've won 2 Challenge Cups. We've got Champions Cup final, semi-final. And we did that without having to buy in all the fancy players who shave their legs. Weirdos.
Well, ladies, calm down.
I can't talk about that. I know what the Cardiff team like the 90s was like.
So I said at the start of the season that if the Scarlets got off to a good start to the season and we hit the European section, if you like, the European block, and we were in the top half of the table, then we should not worry about Europe. That's what I said at the start of the season, and I kind of stand by it now. I understand why we won't. I mean, we won't go through it because we'll try and maintain momentum. We'll try and, bring back some of the players. Fafita only just come back. He only just come back. So, I think we'll just use it as a building block, but it'll be quite a strong building block. And the danger is that we pick up injuries, and that's the bit that will shaft us, is if we pick up injuries. So I don't know who we've got beyond Bayonne. I know we've got Black Lion at some point, but yeah, for me, I know it's great for the money. I know it's great through the turnstiles. It does bring a buzz when it's going well, but I would settle for, if it was a choice. Let's say I don't know, it's with 2 league positions. I'd take the 2 league positions and not worry about Europe.
You've got Gloucester away.
Oh yeah, she was going to that. Yeah,
and then you've got Van at home, who
Have we
just
not got-
You probably go to that as
La
well.
Rochelle at the weekend.
Oh, we have Black Lion again.
Yeah, they're next
Yeah.
week.
You're
So
right.
you have Bayonne away, Black Lion home, Gloucester away, which is an 8 o'clock Friday night 8 o'clock kickoff, and Van at home. Gloucester away is fun. I did it last year. I mean, we went.
I was going to say that's the sort of game I'd like to.
We
go
went
to.
on a 6-day turner and we took, I think, just over 1,000. So with a couple of months' notice, I fully expect Scarlets to take 50 minimum.
It's annoying because my son lives in Gloucester, so I've got no real reason not to go. He watches a lot of home games up there. Literally,
If you can
walking
even
distance.
crash at his pad, mate, you'd be fine.
If you can go. What I'll say with Gloucester, it's very nice. The Keys is very nice. It's a nice walk to the stadium. It's a bit gutting. You got a Friday night one. We went up, like I said, we're just under 1,000 or just over, and every Gloucester fan came up to me at the end saying, even though it wasn't a sellout, you guys were the only ones this season to outsing us in the shed.
Oh, well, we're not having that then. Right, okay, I'm bringing my drum.
No, this is what I mean.
Trumpet.
This is what I mean. Scarlets have an opportunity to go up there and really silence the shed. So
you heard James say it. Any Scarlets fan listening to this, James has set the challenge down that we need to go to Gloucester and outsing Gloucester. We'll come to that when we get to Gloucester. Let's do a quick couple of predictions then for this weekend. So Dragons Montpellier on Friday night. Dragons at home against Montpellier. Anybody know what kind of form Montpellier are in?
pretty minging, I think. I mean, they lost. I think they lost on the weekend. I think obviously there's been such disruption with.
There's bad vibes around that.
Yeah,
team.
with Hogg.
Let's be honest.
So yeah, they lost 9-6 on the weekend. Oh, they've been winning games. They have been winning games. I'll say that they beat La Rochelle. They beat they lost to Cast by 4 points. They smashed Pau, and then they lost to Bordeaux on the weekend. I can see them sending a second team down.
French sides tend to.
When they're only 9th.
You say that. We obviously did the double over them in our Champions Cup season, where a Welsh team actually won their games in Champions Cup, and didn't whinge about it. And then the year after in Challenge Cup, they were like, "We're not losing to these fuckers against." They played the first team against us in Montpellier, so they are a dangerous side. But I think if Dragons can muster up the emotion and then pair it with execution, they can get a result there at Rodney Parade.
So you're going Dragons by
4.
Okay, I'm going to go Dragons by 10 just to be ballsy. Harley?
I don't know. I'm think Montpellier by 2. I think it's just going to be one of those. I think even if they send in their S-bars, they're all going to be big, horrible bastards. And I think they're just going to keep battering away at the Dragons until they give in right at the last minute.
Okay, so you said Montpellier by
2.
2. Okay. So the average of that then would be 12 divided by, so Dragons by 3. So Jamie can have Dragons by 3.
I have his prediction. He's gone Montpellier by 3.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, he did send it earlier, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I missed James's. What was his? It was too long, and too many side swipes. Thank you.
Okay. Scarlets away to Bayonne, 1 o'clock on Saturday. I don't think this one's televised either. I think this is one
It's
of the.
being shown. You can buy it for $7.99 to watch live, or you can watch it at 9 p.m. on S4C, like live, if you know what I mean.
Strictly first, Strictly semi-final, and then a bit of Scarlets after that. So I've got
Who
no idea.
Who have you got out for the fight? Who do you think's making the final?
It's sore subject in my house, mate. Sore subject, because what's his name should have gone a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, damn right.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, come on, I want to finish.
Sorry.
I'm going to go Bayonne by 5 because I don't care on that one. James?
Bayonne by 6.
Harley?
This is a weird, because me and Jamie are also going Bayonne by 6.
There you go.
And I think it's just purely because it's a French home game.
Yeah.
They usually, even when they're not playing well, they give a shit about that.
I'd love to see us come away with something. I just don't care. Lyon versus Cardiff. You're away out there as well. Oh, we probably share a plane, mate.
Yeah, probably.
So
I don't know the difference between Bayonne and Lyon, but
go on and you do yours and Jamie's.
So Jamie's gone for Lyon by 6. Probably fair. Although Lyon are languishing right to the bottom, so they're in the 13th place in the top 14. Again, I think it's a home game, so I think they're going to go stronger than you'd expect. Cardiff has said, we probably do need to arrest a few players. Said Ben Thomas played an awful lot of minutes for Cardiff and Wales. But I'm going to do a Lyon, and I'm going to go Cardiff by 1.
Spreading, mate. It's spreading. James, Lyon, Cardiff.
I was going to go Lyon, but I've just seen Paddy Jackson play, so fuck them. Cardiff by 6.
How much does that hurt your core that you'd rather cheer for the Cardiff?
Oh, fuck that! I ain't predicting the rapist to win.
I'm gonna go 10-all draw, just to be different, and because again, I really don't care. James, Ospreys, Lions. I'm assuming Lions are gonna stay over after their visit to Munster, so you won't get the travel, or I can't see them going back home and then coming. They did play Munster in Ireland, didn't they?
I haven't heard anything. I'm assuming they'll stay over.
Really weird they didn't.
It's a team we know well. We know what Lions are going to do. I like to play with the ball. Good centres. I think for Ospreys it's just about seeing a reaction. So I'll go Ospreys by 5, but I'm not confident.
Okay, so this is the one game of the weekend that I do actually want to watch. I said the Scarlets game basically means nothing to me. It's about for me, this game is about, are the Ospreys going to respond and do something different before we play them on Not Boxing Day? So that's why this game is interesting to me. I still think Lions they're having quite a decent season, so I think Lions by 5. But it's interesting from that point of view of, do the Ospreys respond? Do they do something? How they're going to treat Europe? So yeah, lots of interesting questions for me on that Ospreys game. Harley?
I think Ospreys probably are a good matchup for how Lions play. They very much like to play off transition as much as people see them as a keep ball team. They're very much more, they'd rather you kick the ball at them. Ospreys are quite happy to have high possession if they need to. The kicking's got to be on point, but I think they'll have enough parity to hold in the game. So I see them winning. I don't think it's going to be particularly high scoring, but I still see Ospreys by about 4, and Jamie's going Ospreys by 3.
Okay, cool. So you can tell we're all really excited for European rugby again.
I used to be really excited for it, but I said it, and I think a big problem is 80% of the Premiership, like 8% of the Premiership teams get into the Champions Cup.
Mm.
Only half the URC teams, just over half the French team. It's like, it's too bloated. It doesn't mean anything anymore. There's nothing to be excited about, really.
Maybe we'll
the
have
pool stage means nothing until the knockouts. So
maybe we'll have a whinge and a moan about that next week if the WRU don't throw something up in between now and then. Okay, we are done for tonight, gents. So just a quick reminder to everyone that our Ospreys and Scarlets ticket competition will be out on our social media. Just fill the form in, send it in. Lovely jubbly. And other than that, I think we're done. That's it, isn't it? I haven't forgotten anything, have I? I'm a bit out. I'm a bit rusty. Having a couple of weeks out, but it's been really nice to be back, boys. It has, genuinely. I've missed you. I'll go that far. I'll say I've missed you. Right. Thank you very much for your time tonight, gents. It has been a pleasure as always. And until next week, enjoy your rugby. All the best. Bye next time. That was WRAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.